This is a collection of passages on death from the writings of Alice A. Bailey and the Tibetan master Jwol Kul. The quotations are interwoven with numerous reports of related near-death experiences. In these events, individuals die in the sense that they believe they died and are often declared dead by the medical profession. But their apparent death is not quite final, and they return to tell of their experience. And as the man turns his attention to his more clearly defined emotional self, there ensues invariably a moment of direct soul contact. For a brief second the soul responds, and the nature of the response is such that the man sees the experience of the past incarnation spread before him like a map. He records a sense of timelessness.
And suddenly, my life, it's like a life review. I was able to see all of my life again, all the way back to babyhood. And I discovered we shared energy. Everyone I ever talked to, their energy was part of me and my energy is part of them. And I had the privilege, if you will, of being able to see how my energy affected them and how their energy affected me. And to go on from there to realize how my energy affected everything.
And then the next experience I had is that I've later learned to be a life review. And what I did is I reviewed all the things that happened in my life. Not that I was living them, or not that I was seeing them as a voyeur, but almost as if I was everywhere, that I was part of everything. And I was aware of everything that went on. And I was aware of every thought that everyone had around me in every situation. And all of a sudden, my life took on new meanings. Every interaction I had, I saw that it was different for everyone else there. Everyone had their own purpose for being in every situation. And so when I reviewed my life, I would learn so many things about new situations. And I'd learned so much wisdom from my experiences. And then when I completed my life review, my awareness was raised. And then I would do my life review again. Now I could look at my life review with a new set of eyes, with my increased awareness. And that went on time and time again. But as I began to address very, very deep and dark pains in my life, each time I overcame that dark episode, I would feel bliss. I would feel enlightened. I would feel like this big weight was lifted off me because I had an understanding of the meaning and the message, and that fueled my spiritual growth and my happiness. For me, the beauty was in being free from all the pains of life. It's that it was just, imagine that you had no anxiety. You weren't angry with anybody. You didn't have any hate or jealousy towards anybody. No one felt that way about you. And it was blissful each time, no matter how difficult that life review was going to be. I knew at the end I would feel bliss. And then when I stopped learning, I moved on to the next situation.
The life review is very commonly described as being ultra real. You know, you can experience things from your life in great detail. These are not vague memories, but sharp, rich reliving. And not only that, but you feel the emotional power of your actions and thoughts on others around you. So the life review is also showing you boundaries of self are false.
I didn't realize it at the time, but I was actually perceiving parts of my future. The interesting thing was that in the part where I had lived my life, that was crystal clear. But when I passed that threshold into my future life, then it wasn't quite as clear. It was like I was looking down a corridor, and that corridor was clear. It was like out of focus, but I had this corridor of clarity. And it felt like I could go off to the right if I wanted and come back, or go off to the left a little bit if I wanted and come back. And I got the feeling that that was what we would consider as our free will. And so I kept going down this corridor and experiencing things that I really didn't have any reference to.
Love, was just beautiful. And I'm feeling very, very much at peace. And then pretty soon I had something different. I had a life preview that went from age 8.5 to 58.5, as it turns out, about 50 years in advance. I saw where I was going to live. I saw myself in a war, in helicopters, flying around, and you got to realize in early 1950s, nobody knew what a Huey helicopter was, let alone what it looked like. It was just being on the drawing boards. And there was a war going on that I was a part of. I could tell it was in an Asian country, but I didn't know much about it. But I saw myself there sitting behind a machine gun and a helicopter. And I saw events and things unfolding that I knew as I was watching them, that I was watching my future self, that is something that's going to happen to me. Saw the woman that I married as a child. We met when we were 14. I met her and I knew who she was. And we dated in high school, and I knew I was going to marry her. And I saw my children. I saw some other strange things. I saw assassination of President John F. Kennedy, but when I'm 8.5 years old, I didn't know who John F. Kennedy was. He was certainly not a president or a national, presence in anybody's life in California. So when I saw that, and I saw other life events where I was going to work, where I was going to live, who I was going to meet. So there was two things to get out of that. I'm watching that and realizing that, oh, obviously I got to go back. This is not over. If you're having a review going forward, that means you have something to go forward to. So at that point in time, I realized that I wasn't going to be allowed to stay in this nice puffy cloud and feeling good, that I had to go back to that body that was laying on the bed below me, which I felt sorry for.